Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about genetically modified food, which is generally known as GMO. GMO has been a controversial issue in both the food industry and also the society as a whole. So first off, what is GMO? GMO can be defined as organisms such as plants, animals, or microorganisms in which the genetic material has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally by mating or natural recombination. This technology is often called modern biotechnology or gene technology. Food produced from or using GM organisms are often referred to as GM food. So, you may ask, why are they developed? They are developed and marketed because there is some perceived advantages to either the producer or consumer of the food. It allows consumers to buy food at a lower price with greater benefits in terms of the durability of the food, like the shelf life of the food or the nutritional value. It improves like crop protection, like to help it be more resistant against plant diseases or viruses. And also, the tolerance towards the herbicides will be increased. This will in turn result in higher crop yields, which means that there'll be more money for farmers and also a cheaper good for consumers. So isn't that good for both parties? Carrying on, so what about the history of GM food? According to Harvard, humans have been altering the genetics of organisms for over 30,000 years. It only began to receive a large amount of attention in recent years due to technology advances. So this means GM food existed for a really long time already. Shocking, right? So what are some of the common and major GM food available in the market today? Some example would be corn and soy. Corn and soy contains genes that are resistant to herbicide glyphosate that is used to kill weeds. And also, soy has been modified to have high levels of oleic acid, which is naturally found in olive oil. Oleic acid, according to studies, has been shown to reduce the amount of lipase and cholesterol that is made in the body, which is a very good thing. Now I'm going to talk about the disadvantages of GM foods. It will mostly be the main issues of concern for human health. The three main points I'm going to talk about will be allergenicity, gene transfer, and outcrossing. As for allergenicity, I am referring to mostly people who are more sensitive to allergens. As GM food consists of transferring a gene from one organism to another, there is a possibility that the gene of a more commonly allergenic organism be transferred to a non-allergenic organism, which would cause allergic reaction. As for gene transfer, the gene from the GM food might transfer to the cells of the body or to the bacteria in the gastrointestinal tract, which would cause concern if the transferred genetic material adversely affect human health. One example of which would be antibiotic-resistant genes. Next, I'll be talking about outcrossing. Outcrossing is a perfect example of how GM plants might affect the environment. Outcrossing is the migration of genes from GM plants into conventional crops or related species in the wild. In layman's term, it means the mixture of GM food and natural food. This might cause an indirect effect on food safety and food security. Other issues of concern for the environment would be the persistence of gene after the GMO has been harvested, the susceptibility of non-target organisms to the gene product, the stability of the gene, loss of biodiversity in the spectrum of other plants, increased use of chemicals in agriculture. So, are GM foods safe? Different GM organisms include different genes inserted in different ways, and their safety should be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But not to worry. The GM foods currently available on the market have passed safety assessments and are not likely to put a risk to human health. Some of the common GM crops available in the market uses one of the following three basic traits: resistant to insect damage, resistant to viral infection, and tolerance towards certain herbicides. And now I'm going to show you the process of how GM food is made. And you can see the steps from this picture. Step 1. A trait of interest would be identified and an appropriate environment and screen list of chosen plants would be selected. Step 2. The genetic trait of interest would be isolated. Step 3. The desired trait would be inserted to the new genome by either a gene gun or by bacteria. Step 4. The GMO will be put into a carefully controlled chamber and monitored. The stance towards GM food from authorities differ from country to country. In general, the introduction of GM foods has been a matter of concern among authorities. Europe is among those becoming increasingly concerned about the incorporation of GM food into the market. Although it is unrelated to GM foods, the several number of food scares that took place in the second half of the 1990s made the people more cautious with their food choices. Those who are pro-GM foods argue that with GM foods there will be a greater quantity of produce, and people from poorer countries can have more regular meals. Whereas people who are anti-GMO sees it as a dangerous proposition due to potential side effects such as allergic reactions or possible adverse health effects. Similar to the authorities, consumers have differing viewpoints of GMO food. Some of the debatable topics would be cost, benefits, and safety issues of GM food. Although the labeling and traceability of GM food are used as a way to address consumers' preferences, there is no worldwide consensus to date. The Codex Alimentarius Commission developed codex text to label foods derived from modern biotechnology. This empowers consumers to make informed choices. Keeping all this in mind, I personally take on the viewpoint that GM food is beneficial. However, in order for its potential to be maximized, there should be a few implementations of conditions to be met. Some examples of strategies would be to reduce mixing by clear separation of the fields within GM crops and conventional crops.